Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, from wherever you come from. Welcome to GMAT Club's MBA Spotlight Fair, featuring some of the top schools from around the world. My name is Evan. I am GMAT Club's head moderator and MBA director. Today's focus is on the Pepperdine University School of Business. Joining us from picturesque Malibu, California, please join me in welcoming Joseph and Steve, who represent Pepperdine staff, as well as Michael, who is an MBA student. We're so lucky to have all three of them here today. Gentlemen, it's an honor, a privilege, and a delight. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we dive in, I know, Joseph, you have that presentation. A few quick reminders. We are going to have a Zoom directly after this session. Please make sure to join. If your question is not answered during this session, we are doing a Q&A format, so make sure to join our Zoom. We are offering some prizes for those who attend that session. So, maybe some little incentive there. Not that Pepperdine isn't incentive enough. The prizes will be drawn at the end of the session. So make sure to stay throughout. The link to enter the prize drawing will be posted at the end of the chat. And lastly, with all that said, I'm going to turn it over to the Pepperdine team. I'll be back in a little bit. Gentlemen, please introduce yourselves because I know I didn't go into too much detail there. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you very much. I'll jump out there first. So my name is Joseph Guillory. I am the Assistant Director for Full-Time Programs here at Pepperdine Graziadio. Very excited to be here. Happy to have our two guests here today, which they're going to introduce themselves, and looking to have a great time today.
Well, my name is Steve Rapier. I'm a marketing and branding professor, and I'm also the academic chair of the full-time program.
Hi, I'm Michael Mortarosian. I'm a current MBA student at Pepperdine. I'm also currently the chairman of the Student Advisory Board, as well as the vice president of community service for the Net Impact Club. Glad to be here.
Wonderful. So I'll just jump right on in there, and we're going to go with our presentation here today. So give me just a moment, please. All right. So Pepperdine Graziadio, and today we're going to focus specifically on our full-time MBA program. Now, the Pepperdine Advantage. What separates Pepperdine from other universities across the land? Well, it's our value-centered focus, and our mission is inspired by its Christian values and seeks to promote transformational learning, create applied knowledge, and equip its students to become best for the world leaders. What that means to us is we want to control the classroom environment. So we specifically cater our class 20-25 students because we want a more intimate classroom environment. And it's only going to behoove our students and our practitioners in regards to having a better relationship, getting a time to collaborate a little bit more with your classmates, getting to know them, and more importantly, to be accountable. With the smaller classrooms, you're going to have a much more personalized attention to detail. We are a practical institution as well. So we're not just going to be teaching you things from a theoretical standpoint, but more practicing. And with the smaller classroom environment, it allows you to do that, to mix and match with your classmates that also come from different backgrounds within the business as well. Now, in terms of our experiential learning, just to dive in a little bit deeper, we have a few areas that really focus in these particular areas. We have our E2C, which is education to community. And then we also have our E2B, which is education to business. Now, these particular parts of our program are really helps the experiential learning. As I mentioned before, this is a practical institution, so we want to ensure that our students are turnkey when they do graduate. And these two areas allow you to do so. E2C is going to focus more importantly on nonprofit organizations, while E2B will connect our students with real-life world application with current industries. Now, this project is going to be extremely beneficial to our students that might not have the experience in a particular area, are curious or job changing. Our E2B allows you to really get submerged into a company, work from top to bottom with their executives, learning a little bit more about the problems that you have to go through, and actually report that back out in the capstone project. So this is a really great opportunity for our students to get that real life application, understand what is really asked of them, and be able to translate this information and these skills once you get out to the real world. And last but not least, we also have our SEER, which is an incredible part of our program. It's socially, ethically, and environmentally responsible. And what that means to us, it allows us to cover a wide range of strategies across business industries, help to generate business and results in a positive global impact, corporate stewardship, and all in all, just want to be better businessmen in terms of how we cooperate with the world. So we have so many different areas within experiential learning, but these are just a few just to give our students insights into how they can really become better at their craft with real life situations. Now, jumping into our MBA program. Now, we have 3 different areas for our full-time MBA. We have our 12-month accelerated program. We have our 15-month and our 20-month more traditional programs. Now, the major difference between the 3 is our 12-month is accelerated. We do require you to have a 3.0 cumulative GPA. You must also have over 3 years of postgraduate work experience. And then you also have to have over a 3.0 GPA. Now, if you meet all of these criteria, then you'll be eligible for the 12-month program. The 15-month and the 20-month is going to be more traditional. Now, the only thing that separates these 2 is the 20-month has a paid internship, which allows our students to get more experience in those industries that they want to build relationships into, maybe changing their career paths. But the internship definitely allows you to add more experience within that realm of business. Now, with our classes being in Malibu and we're full-time program, classes are typically Monday through Fridays. They're going to be 8 to 12 is one option, 1 to 5, and our newly 6 to 10 due to the COVID-19 measures. Now, again, classes are Monday through Fridays. They are very collaborative, and we are looking for our students that are coming into the program to have at least 2 years of postgraduate work experience if you were wanting to do the 15-month and 20-month program. Now, whether you're in the 12-month, the 15-month, or the 20, we do require the GMAT GRE, but it is a benefit to you, as our merit scholarships are going to be based primarily on our GMAT GRE scores, as well as your cumulative GPA. So although the test is required, it is very beneficial in terms of financial success, the better that you do on this exam. Moving on to our next slide. The return on the investment. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're very first class in terms of a boutique style program. We want to make sure that we're there to service you. Small classrooms make you feel wanted. Our career professional development does a great job at facilitating that for you guys in terms of making sure that you're successful when you do graduate here. You have different things from career coaching that all of our programs have, where you'll spend time with your career coach. You'll go over resume building. You'll do mock interviews. You'll also even do what we call tracks, where our students will actually go out to different organizations, different companies, and learn a little bit more about the business itself. So we also have virtual webinars that puts our students in the driver's seat working with different organizations, lunch and learn with alumni, management consulting workshops, and last but not least, we also have case competitions as well. So our goal is to ensure that our students are prepared when they do graduate with the proper skills on how to market themselves, how to find what they want, and how to be successful when they actually endeavor into that vision. Now, lastly, going over the application process, as it is an important part of being applicable for the MBA program. So our requirements are as you see here listed. Now, we have an online application that's quite easy. It goes through the basics that you would do at any traditional application process. You do your name, where you're from, things of that nature, and then we also require an essay. Now, although we're a business school, the essay is a very important part of our application process, as it's the only thing that we really know to understand where the students come from, their goals, and their aspirations. As we see so many applications and so many students year-round, the essay is really a great opportunity to really show who you are, what your goals are, and how do you think it's going to fit with our community that we have here at Pepperdine. And then we also require official transcripts, electronic preferred, for our students. If you've taken swimming classes when you were in high school, we need those transcripts. So any school that you have attended in your collegiate career, we must have that in order to move forward with the process. The resume, ensure that your resume is up to date with your work experience, as we do require the 2 years at least of postgraduate work. If you have internships, volunteer work, anything that you think is relevant and engaging for the full-time MBA program, please definitely include it. Now, we also require an interview when you do complete all of your application process. You submit your app, we have your essay, your transcripts, your GMAT, your GRE. You're going to be required to do a full-time MBA interview. Now, you're going to be meeting with our career professional development team, as they're very influential in making sure that everything goes right for you guys from the start of the program to the end. And that's our opportunity to learn a little bit more about your goals and start to cultivate that relationship and mold you into an area where you need to be when you do graduate so you can be successful. So that interview, definitely take it seriously, as it is going to be the gatekeeper to getting you to the next phase, which will be the committee review, where our faculty and our staff will review to see if you're applicable for admission into the full-time MBA program. Now, for our international students, we do have some requirements as well. We do require that you have the English proficiency exam. You can do the TOEFL, the IELTS, or the PTE. If you've gone to a university that's outside the U.S. where English was not the language it was taught in. Now, if English was the language it was taught in, you don't have to do this proficiency test, but you still will have to evaluate your transcripts to meet U.S. standards. Now, all international students have to go through this process. We typically like to use WES evaluation services as they are the best for doing course by course descriptions to get us a 3.0 GPA. To get us a 4.0 GPA is what we need in order to move forward. So again, for our international students, you have to do your transcript evaluations. We have WES evaluations, which is going to be the best. That will give you everything that we need in order to make a decision if you're going to be applicable for our full-time MBA program. Now, fall 22 is right around the corner. Our first major deadline is coming up here. It's December 1st in 2021. It's our priority deadline. So again, if you are a student out there and you have your GMAT, or you're taking your GRE, you have your transcripts and your work experience, I urge you to definitely apply. As when we get to the February deadline and our June deadline, it's going to be extremely busy as everyone is interested in applying for the program. So again, if you are ready and you're polished and you have all the documents needed, I would strongly suggest applying for the program, which can take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks for a decision to come once you have submitted your application. Now, we're getting ready to get into my favorite part of this segment here is where we get to actually ask questions with our current student, Michael, and then we also have our current staff here, Dr. Rapier as well, which is going to give us some insights into the Pepperdine culture. You'll learn a little bit more about what it is from a student perspective and then also our faculty. So without any further ado, I would like to get to that next phase of our presentation. Now, as you guys know, we've already met with Michael and Dr. Rapier. Let's start with you, Michael. Just want to learn a little bit more on your background. Just let our guests know here why you decided to embark on an MBA journey, and also what is your area of interest for this particular program?
Yeah, definitely. So coming into the whole process of applying to my MBA program, I'm from financial management background. Pretty much have always been in financial services for my career. I had hit pretty much a growth point and I was just pretty stagnant within my career. So I decided to take a step back, reevaluate, and thought that an MBA was going to definitely give me that new opportunity to actually learn more and hopefully just advance my career. And then in terms of why I chose Pepperdine, I come from a very faith-based institution, educational background. And the one thing that I appreciate from that is how ethics was tied into pretty much every course. And I know for a fact Pepperdine also did that. The SEER certificate was a very huge selling point for me. And that actually pairs up with the Net Impact Club that I'm a VP for. So in order to actually obtain the certificate, you actually need to be part of that club. And that pretty much gets you into the real world and community service and just thinking more than just the bottom line of working with a company. You actually think about the social environment, the ethics. So that was what made me really choose Pepperdine and why Pepperdine was at the top of my list.
Awesome. And for our guests out there that are interested, what concentration did you choose for this program? Or do you have any area that you want to focus in on?
Finance, actually. So my undergrad's also in finance, minor in economics. So when I came in, definitely wanted to stay in line with that. Numbers have always been my thing. So came in knowing that I want to concentrate in finance again. Awesome.
Thank you very much, Michael. Now, Dr. Rapier, I had raved and hollered about, our practical instruction and our great faculty and staff. Would you mind just giving a little bit of your background and why have you decided to, just continue working here at Pepperdine and servicing our students?
Yes, I assume we have 4 hours to go over this, right? Well, I actually come from industry. When I was 24, I started a high-tech firm. I ended up as first week consultant for a market research firm that did site analysis for new branch applications to banks and savings and loans. The second week I was vice president, and then later on I took over as president. I've been head of marketing for a unit of Caterpillar, I was EVP of an ad agency here in LA for almost 9 years. And along the way, I had the opportunity to guest lecture or, lecture at different universities, including USC, Long Beach State, and others. And sometimes when we reach a certain point in our career, we realize that just climbing the corporate ladder, we already done that. And it really, for me, was paying it forward. I love the idea of being in a setting in which personal experience plays a role in how people learn. And it isn't just, like Joseph was saying, reading out of the Kotler book in marketing. It doesn't downplay concepts or theories. They're integral to the courses. But myself and my colleagues, we come from different backgrounds. One of my colleagues started the EDB program that you talked about, was an executive at Coca-Cola. We were able to kind of embed our experience. Yes, a lot of the good stuff, but it's amazing how many people were amazed when I said things that didn't work, right? To be honest about, and that's a safe way of learning. Okay, I should be mindful of that. And as an executive for almost my entire life, I saw things from a view that not a lot of people get. And I thought that the classes I teach would benefit, the students would benefit from that kind of dialogue. I do not walk into the classroom with a TA in front of me and I get up to the podium and I bark and then I wrap up my stuff and I walk away. I don't do that. I like to engage, I like to interact. And so anyway, that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now let's jump right into it. We want to talk about the classroom environment. And this is for you, Michael. You're one of our newer students to the program. So you've had an opportunity to really take a step back and, really understand what the program's all about, this being your first term. Is there any particular class that stuck out or any moment within the program thus far that you were like, wow, this is why I started to do the MBA program. I think I'm exactly where I want to be. Is there anything that sticks out?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few things that actually stick out. The one thing that I think that set me up for success immediately was the fact that we started working with our career coaches during the summer. And that was just an easy transition because they're all like, if you start this pretty much when the fall term starts, you're at a huge disadvantage. So that was one thing that stuck out. And then secondly, there was a workshop the week before classes actually started where we spent 3 days with our cohort, and it pretty much went through leadership principles, how to engage in the class, how to actually support one another. And we had a follow-up class for the whole term that just ended this past week, actually. That pretty much built a bond with all of us. And the cool thing too was that we ended up having all of our classes for the first term together. So we knew how to lean on each other. We knew how to study together. We knew how to meet up and make sure that our group projects were going smoothly. If someone was lost within a concept, we can be there for each other. And that just tied into every class that we had. So I've had finance, I've had marketing, we've had a technology class, which is our ISTM. Within those ones, there's group projects. And the E2B, we've had actually in 2 of those classes already, where we've worked with a CTO of a publicly traded company, and we've presented directly to them. For our marketing class, we ended up presenting a marketing strategy to a couple of CEOs. That experiential learning is, I think, one thing that just made me take a step back and say, you know what, this is a distinguishing factor that I didn't know the value of coming into Pepperdine. I really didn't. And knowing where I'm at now, I'm extremely grateful for that and how they really integrate that within the classroom.
Awesome. And that's a great point that you make. And it kind of sets up the next question that I have for Dr. Rapier. Because many of our students are, graduating from undergrad and going out to the workforce for 2 years, and they're coming back. So they're not as used to the grind of school. So in terms of the graduate, what do you think is the best way that a student can approach this program once they're in the classroom? Like, how can they be successful?
I think, and this kind of goes back to a piece of advice I received years and years ago. And that was, it really doesn't matter what your background is compared to anybody else. What really matters is that you're as enthusiastic about your interests as they are about theirs. That sense of enthusiasm and being engaged in the classroom is likely to give you a much higher learning, better learning experience. It actually also encourages your classmates. So as opposed to just thinking you're going to go in there, check the box in the back of the room, you're not going to get as much. Your mind actually is not processing as much as someone who is engaged, who is curious, who's fascinated, who engages, who actually responds when the professor asks a question, works with their team closely, because every one of you has a voice that's worth being heard. And so you really don't want to go into the program thinking that you're nobody. You have value, and be enthusiastic about that value.
I think that's a great point, Dr. Rapier, and I'm happy that you gave me this vote of confidence since the classroom environment is so collaborative. But what about those students that, aren't used to speaking up and are a little introverted? What ways do you guys as faculty, because you want them to be, inclusive and work together, what is the objective of the faculty in terms of getting those students that might not speak out or are a little bit more reserved? How do you kind of fight around that?
Well, you don't treat them as outcasts. You still value them, and you can come alongside them and support and talk to them, and give them a safe place where they can feel like, okay, I'm okay not saying about this one subject because I'm not that familiar with it, but I know that the professor is not criticizing me or anything like that. One of the things I do too is, I host a coffee club for Christian students. And the first Tuesday of every month, it's at Marmalade down the street. And I assure everybody there's no tests, no quizzes. There's no agenda. But it's a way for people to stay connected. And it's amazing how food can play into that, right? What I would do in my classes is typically, I want it to be engaging. And just so you know, during my breaks, I play French cafe music. And I think a lot of it depends on the tone that we set. If we set a tone like we're just coming up there and we're stern and, so forth and so on, then the person that doesn't feel comfortable talking is not going to talk at all. But I think if we actually treat them with respect and, curious about what they think, even in small groups or whatever, then I think they're more likely to start feeling comfortable.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to the stomach to kind of get people involved and wanting to work together. I think you have a very great way of ensuring that people that don't have a voice will feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
And Michael, I want to jump a little bit back into you brought up the net impact, and you were speaking about SEER. Can you give our guests a little bit more details as how to get involved outside of the classroom? What areas can they get clubs? How does that process work?
Yeah, definitely. So coming into the program, I just did my own research, but the university does a very good job. There's a Meet the Clubs Day, which is broadcasted. It's emailed to you. You get all the notices. And then they do it more than once just to make sure that if the first day doesn't fall within your schedule, you can hopefully make it the second day. And then it's just, there's a platform, and it's a very easy platform to use to just get in touch with people, to express your interests. And even if you don't see something there that you're interested in, faculty, professors are very willing to work with you. So I came in looking for a student-run portfolio, and that actually hasn't been something that has been running for years. So I started reaching out to the deans. The dean couldn't do anything for me, so he got in touch with a professor that could. And I'm currently in the process of trying to get that up and running. So definitely there are plenty of opportunities, and the eagerness to help students from professors, from faculty is there. So whatever you aspire to do, you definitely have an opportunity to do it at Pepperdine.
Awesome. As we're getting to our last few moments here, I wanted to keep this on you, Michael. In terms of our guests, what can they do to prepare themselves to be, ready to go for this endeavor and this journey? I mean, an MBA is a challenging program in itself. What's some advice that you would give to anyone that's applying, that's got accepted, and how can they go about being a good student?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been out of the school environment for over 5 years before I ended up coming to Pepperdine. So I was a little hesitant at first. I knew I wanted to embark on that journey. So there was a little of imposter syndrome that I was dealing with at first. Once I came on, I don't know, just be your authentic self. Definitely be out there, network, try to self-reflect on what you really want to get out of the program, because you're only going to get out what you put in. So if you're thinking that this is going to be a very hands-off experience, it's really not. You need to be engaged. You need to come in with some sort of idea at least. You don't need to have a complete plan or a complete focus, but just knowing that you want to be involved, knowing that you actually want to network. The very thing that I constantly tell myself is you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's helped me out tremendously. It's gotten me in touch with phenomenal people already, and this is only my first term here. It's an amazing environment to be part of. It's a growth environment for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that insight. And wrapping it up here, Dr. Rapier, you have a wealth of knowledge. You've been with Pepperdine. Can you tell our guests here just a little bit more about what it really means to be a Pepperdine Wave and our sense of community and culture that we have here, not only as a learning environment, but just as a community itself?
What's interesting, given the setting in Malibu with about 800 acres, it again relies on your initiative to be engaged, right? And there are so many different clubs, activities, and so forth that there's no shortage of opportunities. It can be within the classroom. It can be clubs. It can also be, if you want to go to Paris in my luxury branding class in the spring, you're welcome, try to do that. And so there isn't any shortage, but there's something about Malibu itself that even if you're just driving down PCH or you're walking around where Marmalade is and stuff, people are happy. And if you go down to Laura campus, down to Seaver, people are happy. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And that environment is it's breathtaking. I do recommend, if you do come, to at least once in 2 years, go to the beach. Don't hold back, but go to the beach.
You're right. That view is definitely beautiful, Dr. Rapier. It does put a smile on all of our faces. Again, on behalf of Pepperdine Graziadio, I want to say again, big thank you to Michael and Dr. Rapier for sharing your thoughts of our community and helping our guests here to learn a little bit more about Pepperdine Graziadio. Again, this is Joseph Guillory, and I want to say thank you guys for joining us. And back over to you, Evan.
Thank you, Joseph. You kind of took my job away from me to a certain extent with those nice closing remarks. And Dr. Rapier, I mean, it's California. It's Malibu. I can't imagine too many people are depressed over there. As I said at the beginning, it's one of the most beautiful areas in the world. But I want to thank all of you for sharing all that information with our audience. And thank you for joining us here today. I know that it is time out of your schedules, and all three of you are clearly busy and very important. We hope to our audience that this provided all of you watching with some valuable information about Pepperdine. If you still have questions, because I know we didn't get to them, which is okay. This was Pepperdine session, and you guys gave our viewers and our users a ton of information. I recommend and would encourage you to join the Zoom, which is going to occur right now. The link is now going to be posted in the chat, and we hope to see you there. You can also stay tuned on our YouTube page for the next business school presentation. So to Dr. Rapier, Michael, Joseph, thank you for your time today. We'll see you all in the Zoom momentarily.
All right,
Take care,
thank you.
guys.